Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We're doing our match reaction today to basically an appalling performance from yesterday. An absolute distraught performance, as you can tell by the title. Hopefully you're all okay. Hopefully you are ready for the honest opinions of yesterday's performance if you tuned into the watch along. Bit of a disappointing game, yeah. We'll see if anyone is going to join in the chat first. Hopefully everyone's okay though. Hopefully you're all having a great day. Hopefully, obviously, enjoying your weekend. So yeah. Alright, we'll get straight into it anyway. If there's no one there. Right, so. Oh, geez, okay. Yeah, Nick, how are you? Hopefully you're okay. Hope you have a good weekend at the moment. So yeah, let's crack onto it. Yeah, so QPR took a big hefty defeat, I would say, against a newly born Blackburn Rovers at Loftus Road. Yeah, QPR got pretty much demolished, I would say, by Blackburn yesterday, 3-1. And the only thing I can say right now about it, with what I was watching, is this. Everyone just looked appalling yesterday. Just the team didn't look the same. It was appalling. You know, we did take the lead with Sato with a Hayden assist in midfield. It was actually a cracking goal, to be honest. You know, Sato in the middle, in the box, and just swivel, pivot, and launched it straight into the corner on the top of the net, which was a brilliant goal. It's good to see Sato scoring, but after that, in fact, do you know what? Did we score first? I don't know. I think we... Hang on. I've got to double check this. I don't want to get my facts wrong. No, we didn't score first. We scored second. Cool. My apologies. My apologies. I got that information wrong. Sorry. I can't remember too much from yesterday. Sorry about that. Nick says, bad weekend. Hardly could watch any football after that game. Yeah, I know what you mean on that one. That's why I just stuck to gaming. But yeah, Blackburn took the lead. Sorry, this is, I think I remember, I'm trying to remember a bit more, with Matthias Jorgensen, who scored. If I'm not mistaken, the goal came from a mistake from Sato itself, to be honest. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. And if it is the goal that I'm thinking of, it was the goal where it was, I think, the cross. I think it was a cross or something like that. I can't remember too much. I can't remember. I might have to look at the highlights again. But yeah, Matthias Jorgensen took the lead for Blackburn Rovers, which was appalling. Conceding like that is not great. And then obviously Koki Sato took the ideal route and basically got us a draw. I think it was the second goal that it was Sato's fault, I think, where he lost the ball in halfway. And don't get me wrong, it was a great through ball down the middle into Matthias Jorgensen. And the only problem was, I think Joe Walsh, you know, a lot of people were blaming Joe Walsh for it. And, you know, I won't just blame him, because I think the defence is at fault here as well. You know, when you're Jimmy Dunn and Steve Cook in form at the moment and you're allowing balls to get through in between you, it's not great. You know, Joe Walsh could have done better with coming out, a lot better. But I'm not going to put all the blame on Joe Walsh. You know, he's been pretty decent in the last... well, at the start of the year, you know, for the last couple of months. And yeah, yesterday just wasn't his day completely, with whatever happened. Obviously that made it 2-1 before half time. Now then, obviously in the second half, we still look shit. I'm gonna be honest, we still look shit. It was appalling. It was. Mr. QPR, yo, weekend game was crap, honestly. I agree. 100% agree with that. Thank you for tuning in, Mr. QPR. Much love, much appreciation. But yeah, we were really appalling in that second half. I would have thought he would have spoken to the team. We would have come out a lot better. But I'll be honest, this is how you can pretty much tell if it's a boring game or a dead game. Pretty much the whole game, the whole watch long, I was just chatting away with you guys. You know, I wasn't really concentrating that much, and that's how you know that game was pretty dead. So yeah. Nick says, can't say too much of the goals let in, as that was so amateur, but if you look overall, the passing was okay in the first half, but to play long balls without trying to pass our way through was poor. The long balls were appalling, even in the first half. You know, there was some good passes, but we kept giving the ball away. I did start seeing the ball get given away by Hayden, Jimmy Dunn, Steve Cook were hoofing up there for no reason, in my opinion. I get that you want to get the ball up there, but at the end of the day, in a scenario like that, it's pretty bad. You know, you can't do it like that way, you know, and that's what kind of conceded our goals as well. Now, it was a bit of obviously a weird one, so yeah. Like I said, we basically did not perform in that second half as well. It was really appalling. And then that is when the third goal came in from a really good cross, and Morishita with a great head, scoring for Blackburn to make it 3-1. Then we decided to make the subs. We did, unfortunately. Did the subs make a difference? I don't think so, I'll be honest. There was a couple of chances, but apart from that, I don't think any of the subs make any difference whatsoever. It was a bit of an improvement when we moved Edwards into the middle, Jimmy, which was alright. But apart from that, there was nothing there completely. So yeah, Jay said it all is his view. He can only do so much. The players have to take responsibility for their ability. I get that. I totally understand. Look, a head coach can only give you what they can, you know. And listen, look, we can't sit here and say he's not doing a bad job, because the results have been there. You know, at the start of the season, he proved and showed after Coventry game what we can do. You know, the results were there. You know, we were flying high. So to sit here and say to sack him or anything like that is not right at the moment. You know, I honestly still have full belief in Julian. I really do. But the thing is this: if you're going by interview wise with what he's saying, half the chance it is on the players. You know, if the players ain't performing, you know, you can't just blame the players. Obviously, Julian gets the blame as well. But at the end of the day, the only thing that head coach can do is give you the tactics and the understanding of what he wants. If they're not doing it, then they're clearly not either not understanding what he's saying, or there's a barrier, you know. So yeah, the bottom line is the injuries are killing us. We have no option at all. I think letting Sandfield go was a bit of a problem. I would have thought if we let him go, we'd have brought someone in. I think right now we are in real trouble. Honestly, we are in real trouble right now, because, you know, that second half, Madsen got injured, and obviously he's playing it out like it's fine. It's not big serious, but I have a feeling it is serious. I have a feeling it's going to be out for a couple of weeks, which is not great. And something needs to be done, because we have no midfield now. All our players don't come back until the end of this month. You know, majority of players don't come back to the end of this month, so we're pretty screwed there. You know, it's good to see Jake Clark sort of back on the bench, but at the end of the day, we're screwed with injuries right now. If Madsen is injured, we're screwed in midfield for a while. We're gonna have to sort something out and change it. So yeah, we have Morgan, but his game time is limited, as was Phil's. The thing with Morgan is, I like Morgan, but I still think he's in a predicament of Daniel Benny. Look, I think they both should have been sent out on loan to grow. You know, Daniel Benny is good, Kieran Morgan's good, but Kieran Morgan this season has been, you know, apart from the two cracking goals he scored, his passing ability has been appalling, you know. And it might be harsh for me to say that, but honestly, he needs experience, and the only way to do that is either give him more game time or send him out on loan. And as far as I'm concerned, I think he should be sent out on loan. You know, he's 19 years old or whatever. You know, do I think he's ready for first team? He's proven it with Marty, he has. But he needs to kind of get through and understand what Julian wants from him. So yeah. But if Madsen's injured, you know, we're screwed. I think personally, we're screwed. So yeah. Apart from that, you know, the rest of that game was pretty dead. on the day. You know, we had the Harvey Vale get booked, and you know, this is the weirdest thing as well. The highest rating for us was Daniel Benny, 7.4. So where everyone was critical on him yesterday, he actually was the best player on the pitch, apparently. The best player on the pitch. So that says a lot. That does says a lot, right? You know, Kone, really appalling yesterday. Joe Walsh, obviously really appalling. Edwards was okay. Jimmy Dunn, Steve Cook, can't happen again with the faults that happened yesterday. Davis, really shocking yesterday. Madsen, would I have rested Madsen yesterday? He didn't look the same. He looked a bit different yesterday. I think resting him might have been best against Blackburn, but you know, Blackburn, for me, the reason why I think they won was the fact is this: it's the same scenario as Southampton. You know, they had a different change of head coach. I know a little bit of Michael O'Neill. I know he did a terrific job with Northern Ireland, I think it was. But he put a different team out there compared to what Ishmael for Blackburn did. You know, Johnson is a highly rated striker. Jorgensen is a highly rated midfielder, striker, forward, whatever you call him. Marishita is pretty bang on. You know, they have a good side with goals, you know. But the problem is they need to play. And that's what happened yesterday. They played, they performed, and they stood out. You know, our predicament of what we need to do is that we need to look late-wise on that. So yeah, I'm surprised we didn't start and have Davis for Hull. I'm a bit confused by it as well. The only thing I think of is things would change when the manager of Blackburn was announced. So yeah, that's what I got a feeling on that. You know, I would have rested some players, but I guess Julian had a different idea on what he wanted. So yeah, apart from that, what I saw yesterday wasn't great. You know, apparently in the first half we did really well with holding the ball and attacking wise. We did more chances apparently than Blackburn. Apparently second half was pretty even. I would say not really. Apparently expected goals XG was more for us than them. We had more possession than them. Total shots, we had more total shots than them. And that just explains everything from yesterday, really. We was just shockingly appalling. We couldn't finish. We couldn't take our chances. And defend-wise was really appalling. It was absolutely shocking. I think it could be a lot worse than Coventry game. Even the Coventry game we lost. But when you're at home and you play Blackburn, you can't lose like that. You can't. It's a fact. You know, that was a must-win yesterday. We've allowed Blackburn to get out of the bottom three. You know, we've slipped down into 13th. You know, it's a big, you know, it's still even in that league table it is. So yeah, it's very even still. But like everyone's concern yesterday was about relegation. Now, I know in fact where we are closer to relegation. We are in the sense of table-wise, but point-wise, we're more closer to playoffs. We are. So that part is I'm not worried about it yet. A lot of people are saying why you're not worried, why you're not stressing and all that. I'm not worried because I know what Julian's gonna do. You know, 12 wins, 12 losses, 8 draws. It's not great, yeah, it's not good, but I don't overrate QPR. You know, I know Julian is a good manager. I know he needs time, and I'm not saying time in the sense of, for example, of how long he's been at the club at the moment, but I'm just saying in performance-wise, he's done really well. Yes, it was a shocking result and a shocking performance, but when it comes down to table-wise, I know we'll finish top 10 at the end of the season, you know, and that is main aim for me right now, is top 10. Obviously, everyone has their own opinion and what they see in QPR, but I don't count us as a top team. We have some great players to grow, and it goes from there. You know, we're still rebuilding, in my opinion. There's still areas that where, like, for example, Davis is only on loan. We need a decent left back. We haven't had a decent left back since Kenneth Powell. If we was able to keep Kenneth Powell, I reckon we'd be top up there completely. You know, I think Nardi's gone now. and then some other players as well that I think are done with. And I think if what Christian Nuri said in the Q&A the other day is correct, where he has a say in a player, not as in what he wants. If he has a say in a player that he wants, then okay, you know, I can totally understand that. You know, listen, look, I see why he's, you know, head coaches are going to get frustrated, and I can tell you right now, I reckon there's some players there that ain't going to be there next season. You know, I can tell you that now. I think we're going to have a bit of a sale, just to bring in some players in the summer. I reckon. I be honest, probably don't see Steve Cook staying there. I don't see Davis staying there. I don't see. It's hard to say Varane because I don't know what's going on with scenario. Ilias Share, I reckon, if he gets injured again, it might not look good for him. So yeah. Nick says, if you don't count the goals conceded, we didn't do enough. A draw would have been fortunate. At the end of the day, a loss and a draw would have been really bad. You know, we lost, a draw would have been bad as well, in my opinion. When you play at home, it's got to be a must win, depending on obviously who you play. But in this league, we've proven we can beat big teams. You know, for teams that are below us, we struggle against for some reason. I don't know why. You know, if you look at the table, half of the team, well, majority of the teams that were up there in the top 6 at the start of the season, it's all rotated. You know, QPR was there, Stoke was there, Swansea, Norwich was there, Charlton was there, West Brom was there, you know, Leicester were there. You know, the whole table is flipped around. And this is what the best thing about the Championship is that you never know what's going to happen. Look at Millwall third. You know, Middlesbrough are doing really well, flying high. You know, Derby County with John Eustace, ex-QPR head coach, doing really well. Hull's doing really well as well after what's happened to them. Nick says you have to look at the big picture next season, as we only need very few signings to have a real good go and not hope like next season. 100%. Listen, I still think is going to be players that will leave next season, 100%. You know, because they probably been promised Premier League football, and you know, and it's weird to say this because our plan for 5 years, what Christian already said, is to be in the Premier League, and in that Q&A he said something completely different now. So what his aim is right now is I don't know, but at the end of the day, we can only sit here and see every week what we do, you know, in performance wise. So yeah. Yeah, but apart from that, yeah, not much to really say on that game positively. More negatively, we've got to stay positive, obviously, as fans. We've got to wait and see what happens. Obviously, we got our next game, which is Hull, lunchtime, 12:30, Saturday, 21st of February. It's away. It's going to be a difficult game against Hull. You know, we've had tipsy-topsy games against Hull at their ground. We have. They've just recently... Let's have a look. They've recently obviously lost to Chelsea and then lost to Bristol City. They have. So at the end of the day, their home form is a bit of a weird one. I think we need to make sure that our our injuries, we put some players on there. But they have a good squad. We'll be doing the match preview this week for Hull. But apart from that, QPR lose at home yet again to Blackburn, falling 3-1, and it's that simple, you know. So yeah, we gotta be a lot better. Attack wise has been really shit late. Is the main priority. Has been shit. Defense yesterday was shit, which was a bit of a weird one. But apart from that, that's all we can say, really. That's all we can say. Hopefully Madsen is okay. Hopefully there's no serious issues with him. We need him for Hull for sure. We need him for the rest of the season. We want to see Ilias Share back. We want to have news. Obviously we've seen Jake Clark-Salter come back, which is pretty decent. And obviously we need some other players to come back as well, in Varane, Burrell, and that new signing. So yeah, but that'll be it for today for the match reaction. Apart from that, put your comments below what you think. I know it's a bit of a disappointing result yesterday, but yeah, we'll go from there. Don't forget to hit the like, subscribe if you want to. If you're enjoying the content, it does help the channel get pushed out. And apart from that, have a lovely weekend. We'll catch you sometime this week with our match preview real whole. And yeah, stay tuned. Have a good day, people. Peace, love, positivity, and we'll catch you in a bit.